Welcome. In this podcast, we take a look at writing a book proposal and what makes a good book proposal. What is a book proposal? A book proposal is basically an outline of what the book is about and how and why it's going to sell. In other words, it's kind of a short description of the book and some various other factors related to the book. Some of the essential things that are included in the book proposal are, first of all, the overview. Describe basically what the book is about in 2 to 3 paragraphs, 500 words or less. What's the title and the subtitle? What's the target audience? What makes the book unique and worthwhile for them? Think of this as the copy that would go on the back cover of the book. That's what the overview is. The target audience is where you go into a little bit more detail about who the core audience is, who's likely to purchase the book, how big is the market, what are maybe some of the demographics about that audience, what other groups and types of readers will also be interested in this book. And then also you want to include your biography, naturally. You want to talk a little bit about yourself, what your experience is, what your background is, what your credentials are, etc. You want to talk about your competitive titles. In other words, what other books are out there that are similar to yours and what makes yours different and unique. And in your competitive titles section, also you can use this section to sort of justify the hunger or the need for your material. In other words, if you're writing a book, let's say on pirates, for example, and you can take this and say, look at the success of last year's Pirates of the Caribbean movie that clearly indicates that there's a need, that there's potential for this material out there. So that's what you can use your competitive titles for. And by the way, you don't have to always use competitive titles as other books. You can also use competitive titles. You can also take that to mean, movies and things like that. So that's what your competitive titles section is. Number one, to explain what else is out there and what makes yours different, and also you can sort of justify the hunger or the potential for your material. You also want to talk about your marketing and promotion strategies. What is your comprehensive plan to promote the book? Where do you think publicity should be focused on? What types of magazines or other publications are out there that you think should be advertised in? What big name people can you get to provide blurbs for your book? Things that you can put on the back of the book or maybe on your website for promotion. Talk a little bit about your media and speaking appearances. Would you be willing to go on talk shows or radio shows? Would you be willing to do interviews to help get your book promoted, to help promote your book? Also talk about if there's any magazines that might be interested in taking excerpts of your book. In other words, that might be interested in maybe taking a chapter of your book to put in their magazine or their journal, whatever it might be. And you also want to provide a detailed table of contents. In other words, go through the chapters and explain what each chapter is about. So, for example, if you're doing a book on important world events in the 20th century, well, chapter 1 you might say is an introduction and just describe that a little. Chapter 2 might be events that happened from 1900 to 1909. Chapter 3 might be major events that happened in 1910 to 1919. Chapter 4 might be important world events that happened in the 1920s, etc., etc. And then finally, you want to provide a couple sample chapters to basically give the reader, the agent, an idea of your writing style, what the book is going to be about, and how it reads. And to summarize, what makes a good book proposal, what separates the good from the bad? Well, you want to be clear and articulate. Explain clearly what makes your book unique, why it will sell, what's the potential for that, etc. And of course, free of errors. The number one thing that really upsets agents, or that will really get your proposal tossed in the trash and you'll never hear from the agent again, is if you have typos or errors everywhere. So make sure that you're double checking, that you're getting your friends to proofread your proposal before you send it. But if you can do these things, you can definitely create a very good book proposal.